Yo, what's happening? What's happening, man? It's great and always is a pleasure to see y'all. This is episode 43 by my count. This is episode 43, but I'll go through the list of things that we shot. But shout out to episode 43 for show, man. Shout out to episode getting up past 40 plus episodes. It's an amazing feat. You already know what this is, man. I'm your host, Marcel, known as Wealth Mentor around the city, man. And this is Wealthy Sibling, where we talk about everything up under the sun from entrepreneurship and the journey of that, the journey of becoming the successful or wealthy sibling or relative, and everything that entails, right? And everybody else's journey, right? And our strive, because we've chosen to be that one, to change our family's money story, right? Um, and I'm gonna say this, man. Sometimes you got to remind yourself on this journey, right? And I'm talking to every striving or has already been the entrepreneur, because you remember and you're either currently going through that journey of reminding yourself why you do what you do. And just some people just won't get it, won't acknowledge it, won't just, they just won't. But you got to remind yourself why you do what you do, right? And you keep pushing, and whatever force that is of that is pushing you towards your goal, whatever purpose that is, remember that on those nights of just like, all right, you want to act like it's that, okay, it's small or whatever it is, right? Like, okay, and remember why you do what you do, and that you are above the average, right? In your field, in your craft, as the successful relative, the successful sibling, right? The wealthy sibling, right? You him, you her in your craft. The other 80%, if that, you top 10, right? They're not doing what you're doing, they're not willing to do what you do. People talk to me all the time. Well, I thought I was tweaking that one moment. I apologize. Um, People talk to me all the time about I want to invest, I want to trade, I want to make money. How many hours do you spend charting, especially on a Sunday night at 7 p.m. Central? How many days, weeks, or even minutes do you read about technical analysis or go through hours of video or part of your education? How much money have you put into this? And I'm talking about your all around education. Like, not just, public school, like the craft that you want to master. How much money, time, and effort do you put into your education? Like I had released my framework, and then we're gonna get into like the base of the show. And my wealth or wealthy, right? Framework, the very first thing that you have to do is be damn willing to do it. Like, you got to be willing to do it. You got to be willing to say no to the parties, willing to say, man, I ain't got time, I got to go study. Nobody is going to get it, right? Go back over this. Nobody's going to get it. Nobody's gonna understand it. They're gonna think you tripping. That's why you got to be the one that's willing to do it. Like, that's it. All right, so let's get into it, man. Everybody wants to know what's the next big stock is. Of course, everybody wants to know what is it? What is it? What is it? When you are new to investing in the stock market, you are always anxious. FOMO, FOMO, FOMO. Even people who've been investing longer than me or just as long as me, we still deal with FOMO. I still deal with FOMO. I've been looking at markets, looking at charts for 5 years. I still deal with FOMO. Have I gotten better at, hey, bro, you up when there are people who are not? Be okay with being up. But sometimes that ain't even always like the question of what is the next big stock and what am I missing out on? What does the next big industry need in order to survive? And I think that is becoming the sentiment. Where do I need to land? Where do my feet need to be when the tide starts rising? Am I safe? Do I have my floaty device? And financially, your floaty device can only, to me, seem to be your long-term portfolio. Your floating device, to me, can only seem to be what skill have you crafted, what trade have you learned to make yourself accessible, to make yourself valuable outside of your traditional job and work system. You got to make yourself valuable to you. You have to make yourself the priority. Because I'm gonna be very honest with you. You have a sometimes, even though it doesn't feel like it, an equal exchange with your 9 to 5. Now, unless this is your chosen career, because when I talk about 9 to 5s, people think I'm talking about their career. I'm not. That is your dream job. That is your career that you chose and that you worked and went to school to achieve, and you're living that. We're not talking to you. We are talking to those who have dreams, have aspirations, but yet we're in the workforce. Yet we striving and trying, but we gotta go work at McDonald's. We gotta go work at a warehouse. We gotta go work at ComEd. We gotta go work even in a corporate position because it's not your dream career. So I'm talking to I've been there. There. I'm talking to us. That's what I'm talking to. I'm talking to the ones who gotta go home at night instead of getting late notices. Lights gonna get shut off. Like, I'm talking to them. That's what I'm talking to. But this is why, like, when it comes to the market, man, you got to look beyond just the obvious AI names, paying attention, and the things that I'm paying attention to. This on my watch list because you already know we finna get into. We finna get into it. My favorite word. We finna get into the bag, man. We finna get into what it is that I'm looking at to create cash flow for myself. To whether it's one of my initiatives, strengthen my financial confidence, and give myself more day-to-day stability. We finna get into investing and trading. So this weekend, why I'm looking at what I'm looking at, right? All right. So we're gonna break down my AEP option, right? It's the 4-month option, it's 4-month swing. And the 3 top stock that's on my watch list that I have been eyeing for a minute, that I still may take a swing at, which is Google. Google's my number 1, Apple's my number 2, and XLU, which is a which is a healthcare sector ETF. Those are on my watch list, right? Why is electricity becoming one of the most sought after AI investments? But that's on the infrastructure side, and that is because you need power, and electricity is a conduit of all power sources. So, like, even a nuclear power plant still uses electricity to funnel, um, the lights around the infrastructure and so forth and so on, right? To charge your phones, you still need electrical power, right? You still need electrical power. There's forms of electricity in that, right? Um, Now the craziest thing that I've seen, and I did see this, was how Reddit ended up on Wall Street in the S&P 500. I looked at Reddit as the uh, Twitter of investing. That's what I really thought it was. I thought it Twitter version of Substack for investing, right? Like, it was a to talk about type of place. I never really jumped on Reddit. I didn't really get the hype, but that's how I knew about it from the stock market crash in like 2020. That's how I knew about it. That right there. But then the other thing is, what is this? What is this? Oh, okay. Okay. I almost lost my train of thought. Why does it seem that institutional investing is actually switching to music catalogs, and a lot of people selling their catalogs, which depending upon like that, and that's another thing, right? Before there was a bro, I'm rich, I ain't got to worry about it, I'm cool, I got enough money to last me enough money, right? But now even artists who are supposed to be worth a few million are selling their catalogs, right? Old and new, or old and modern, I would say. All right, so let's get into it. This is more of the technical and definitions and data sourcing. So AI is remaining one of the dominant forces influencing capital spending, corporate strategy, and investing expectations. Now, I am interested in companies that are making chips and AI models as always, but I always keep up with who is the number one. I was talking about this earlier, which is NVIDIA. Shout out to Tayway on the stream. I'll probably release that as like a pretty much special episode in itself. To be honest, because I talked about a few things, and one of the things that continues to be the talk of the town is data centers, right? The enormous amount of electricity that creates each layer, which I told you, electricity. AI thesis: utilities, grids, infrastructures, companies, responsibilities for actually delivering the electrical necessity to run this technology. If you want your Mark V robotic whatever to run, it's going to need electricity, right? And who are the forerunners for that? But what I do want to talk about is, if you are trading and you are interested in trading the cash flow, these are the things that are on my watch list. Google is actually raised at the end of this week during Friday's trading day. I looked, it was at like 346. I believe this is going to get to like 350 within the next like 2 weeks for sure for me. And one of my entries was above swinging if it goes above 333. My best entry was hoping that it dropped back down to 333. It got to 340, maybe 338 and some change. But the next 2 to 3 days, it started to trend back up and going towards 348. So I'm like, okay, this might be its resistance, right? This might be the level of resistance. And I talked about this earlier today. The three main indicators I use is number one is trend line, which direction the overall stock is going, whether it's going up or it's going down. Um, moving, and sometimes they switch depending upon like how I'm charting. They'll like switch interchangeably. I'll go, okay, I see that there was an overall trend, maybe up or maybe down, and I'll have to zoom out, and then I'll go, okay, it's touching this EMA, right? It's touching this moving average, and then I'll look and say, okay, is there a level of support, whether it's this week, this month? If I'm very detailed, I may go into that day. Like I went to the day with Google to see if there was any resistance stopping the downward trend, or would it be continuous, right? So that's where I use to put in resistance to be like, okay, are we at this current quarters, eras, or whatever case is like version of a bottom, or could it go lower? A lot of things that, so like for me, for Google, there has to be a pretty heavy catalyst at this point, I think, for it to go back to like 330 and lower. Now, if it does, that'll be amazing, but it's kind of hard for me to see that. But and the things that I think that are going to, what's the word I'm looking for, push it in the upward trend is the Google Cloud growth, the Gemini adaptation. So like the way that they're utilizing and improving on their AI software tools and implementations, the AI monetizations, the search advertising, and the institutional support. All right. So, and when I say this, I'm not chasing Google. I just see an amazing entry for the amazing correction. So Google originally already, if you aren't um putting stocks on your watch list or like seeing your top 5, I think you need to be more detailed when it comes to this thing called investing and trading. So like I'm not chasing Google, but I do know for a fact, maybe not for a fact, but I have high intuition that Google is trying to stamp its name in the sand. And even on platforms as big as YouTube, where do you think they come from? We still tell you to this day, there's still a saying that, bro, if you want to find out something, Google it. Like, Google it. The other one that I actually am interested in at a 280 or below level is Apple, for a swing for the same form of correction. So like Google had already went from 315 all the way up to 380. Now that may have been over a course of like 30 days or so, but that's an amazing run. Even for my 350. So I posted this not too long ago. And I post these because I like to tell you as an everyday person, as an everyday man, bro, you can do this. Like this is feasible, this is possible, and just you're gonna have to sacrifice some things. You're gonna have to say no. You're gonna be out there like, man, I gotta put $100 up, bro. Yes, you gotta put the $100 up that you were gonna spend on buying some Air Force Ones. You gotta put the $100 up that you was gonna spend towards buying some new Tims. You gotta put $100 up that you was gonna spend, or $300 that you was gonna spend on a Gucci belt or whatever, the Amari jeans or whatever. You, if you want to make this money grow, you got to put it up, bro. You got to put the money on the wood, bro. Like that's it. That's it, man. But I am watching overall, like as a big picture. I want to stick to my four stocks in my portfolio per se, and me owning VOO, I think I pretty much own Apple. And I'm very intrigued in this venture fund that I'm in because I found out they are friends with Mr. Trillionaire. So I thought that was really interesting. That they're friends with uh, Mr. Trillionaire, Elon Musk's new company. I was very interested in this fund, and I'll probably talk about it. You can put it in the chat if you want. Want me to talk about it when the clip comes out. But just that, and the last one, it's XLU. It's interesting because it gives investors exposure to broader utility sector instead of relying on one individual company. So this gives you exposure to electricity, data centers, transmissions, grid expansions, cooling. When they talk about like even that you need the water um, as a power source for the data centers. Now we're going to get into my current trade. This is a 4-month swing. My current return is up 7%. It is already at 126. My break even, which is by December 18th, which is like 2 days after my birthday, my break even is 129. My exit for me is 135. I think its high is like 145. So my exit is like a $10 swing. If it gets to that point for me by September, before his supposed rate decision, I will be extremely happy. Because if Mr. Walsh does the rate hike, the market will reflect its disapproval. And that will be an interesting entry swing. You know, a part of me doesn't want the mass negative outcomes because depending upon what happens, it could affect my portfolio. So I don't want these things to happen. The investor in me doesn't. I'm like, nah, bro, I don't. I want the money to keep flowing so my wealth can keep growing. But the trader in me, this is why this is a difference. The trader in me, oh, man, I want them interested. I just do. I just do. I just do. I just do. The trader in me is just like, hey, bro, go ahead, let me pick up a few of them dollars. Go ahead, let me pick up a few of them dollars. You hear me? Um, so yeah. One thing I do want to point out is I want people to understand about my position. They're like, bro, I looked at the chart, it's moving slow. You hungry for fast money or you hungry for wealth? Which one is it? Like I've started to fall more in love with the boring and acknowledging that, like, bro, but you winning regardless. Like, let go of all the extra stuff. Like, you winning regardless. I'm already in the money for this trade. I started regrowing this small account from like $300. The value of this option is like $1,200. Like $900 right now. My regular money came in, bro. Our regular money came in. Like, yeah, we ain't no more talking. Like, I'm still gonna don't do the show. We gonna chop it up, but like, I'm just there. Like, ain't no more talking. Ain't no more talking, bro. Ain't no more talking. Okay. And let me say this before we move on into like, all the other stuff. Um, as a trader, especially someone who's doing options, potential profit changes via the stock price, the time that you remain in the trade, the volatility, and the delta. All right. Let's get into Reddit making internet conversations worth billions. Reddit represents small fantasies about the modern economy. People go on Reddit every day and create conversations, reviews, recommendations, investment discussions, right? So that's where I was like, well, Reddit is, the X or Twitter of investing, right? Entertainment discussions, you'll see some things about that on communities and cultural trends, right? But not much of that content is created by like Reddit employees. It's created by the users. Yet Reddit built infrastructure where those conversations are happening. That infrastructure has become extraordinarily valuable, right? How does Reddit make money? I have no idea. We're going to find out today. So what it says is Reddit makes the money from advertising. Custom companies pay to reach specific communities. Reddit makes money through its data, right? So human generated conversations, trending, AI era. Reddit makes money from its subscriptions, the subscription-based models, premium features provided, another potential revenue stream, and commerce. Reddit communities influence purchase decisions. Now, what is the big business question? Who creates value on the platform? Is it people or the community? Right? And there's an AI connection to this, but here's the entrepreneurial lesson. Because I tried to figure this out. So sometimes business opportunities are created through the environment where other people have created value. Uber doesn't manufacture cars, but it has the value of convenience and transportation. Airbnb, not that I know of, innovation is a thing around here. They aren't building houses, but they made houses available through travel and transportation. YouTube doesn't produce videos, but where you gonna get your video? And Reddit, they don't write posts, but it is typing up your conversations. As an example, right? So with all those attractions and add-ons, it make the company value. And Wall Street went, I think you might need to be on the stock exchange. Let's talk about it. I could see it maybe being third tier next to Meta. If it stays that long, who knows? Because there's a lot of like social conversation platforms, threads as an extension. Sometimes I think I just got to start using threads more. Um, but yeah. And lastly, but not least, oh, Wall Street is buying music. Should songs be treated like real estate? Music catalogs have increasingly attracted institutional investors because songs can produce cash flow repeatedly. The successful song isn't necessarily monetized once. Its potential is earned over decades. So when they talk about royalties and all those other things, like it's very similar, like how as long as my book sells, which is why I made it foundational. Like the information that is in my book, even 10 years from now, is still going to be valuable. Even 20 years from now will still be valuable because it's a mindset based book. It is the decisions that I decided to make, the changes or the trade in the lifestyle that I decided to make via all the financial habits that I learned, picked up, or seen. Hey, the moment you drive a car off the lot, it appreciates. It depreciates. Let me say it again. The moment you drive a car off the lot, it depreciates. So you should probably change the term or get the lowest possible term for the car that you're about to buy. Why? You can say that I want the lowest payment. They're charging you double whatever that car is worth while it's depreciating the exact time frame, length, and amount from the moment you drive it off the lot. As one example of a loan, via it it's a little different, but the interest will still be the interest on the loan. That'll grow while the car depreciates, while you're paying twice what the car's worth. And no matter, to be honest, what car you got, a human is a human. I'm pretty confident that it won't even matter if you got the newest Bugatti, the newest Lambo, the newest whatever, the newest Tesla. As a human being, I can see you getting bored with your car in 5 years. I don't care how many tricks, gadgets you got. It'll become a part of your lifestyle after like 5 years. You'll cherish it for whatever sentimental value you may have, but you'll get bored. So if I'm going to get bored in 5 years, maybe I should own it in 5 years. At least then it's completely mine, and I'm not sending payments into something that at that point I kind of don't care for, because it hit different when you own it. But that's an example, right? So how can one song make you money, right? Spotify, Apple, uh, but this is how it can generate revenue through these platforms. So Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube, radio, movies, television. I I want to get an artist. I'm gonna do this. I want an artist to come on the show because I want them to talk about the other side of music. A lot of them talk about mainstream music, but I've been peeping the other plays of, that solid bag, that solid cash flow revenue through these other outlets, like advertising, video games, sampling. I don't even think enough people talk about like sampling grids, social media, and international licensing. Right. And like if you get hit with like a content violation, that's because they have their music license and it can't play or is banned or whatever the case is in where the music aired. So your content can go to Asia, but the music that may be underneath the video isn't allowed to be played in Asia, right? The main thing we're talking about is music catalog. So why would an artist sell their music catalog, right? It's immediate liquidation, so you get immediate money. They call it diversification. So now you got, leeways into other cash flows, estate planning benefits, reduce future uncertainty. So to me, they're putting these in these little roles, but that's probably the first one, which is to reduce future uncertainty. That's a nice way of saying, hey, shorty, I don't know where my next check gonna come to maintain my living, selling my music. But capital for other investments. So the same way I use options as a way to capitalize and do all my other initiatives and relieve my financial woes if I have any, right? And I'm not saying per me, I'm talking in general. That's what that's about. Now, here's my last piece before we get off, because I was kicking with y'all. But what is future dollars actually worth? That's very similar to art in general. It's perception. If the world got up and said this paper is paperless or worthless, gold is all that matters to me, then every form of paper would be priceless, right? Be worthless. So, what is the future dollar worth? We all got to figure that out. Essentially, what investors are trying to calculate when they're buying stocks, businesses, real estate, and music catalogs is: am I paying the undervalue, or am I paying the maximum value for this investment? Do I see 10 trillion in it, or am I paying 10 trillion and it's going to be worth 1 billion? That's the base of most of these exchanges, y'all. But when it comes to the decision of what you want your life to be like, that's the same exchange you're going to make. Are you sitting back, continuously waiting, hoping that this version of the lifestyle that you want is going to be worth $1 trillion? Or have you settled in what your life will be like because you think that this is all that it's worth? This career that you have, this job that is nice to you. Really think about that, y'all. So when you come to this show, the reason why I stamp Wealthy Sibling is to talk to you and say, hey, Shorty, this is a choice that I made. I ain't bragging, but this is a choice that I made. Regardless of opinion, bro, I am going to be and will be the Wealthy Sibling. You get to be mad or get with me. That's it. That's all, y'all. So like, share, subscribe, man. Continuously support me. You want to, an in-person meetup or whatever the case is, man. Hey, you can always book me at griffspeaks.com. Again, I'm your host, Marcelius Griffin, Marcel for short, known as the Wealth Mentor around the city, man. This is Wealthy Sibling, man. Make sure you like, share, subscribe. I'm on YouTube and all the other platforms. We appreciate y'all.